How are you? This is Michael Forster from HeCooksSheWines.com, and I'm here to talk to you about knives. There are 5 different knives that you need to have in your toolbox, and I'm here to tell you each one. Now, the first knife is your basic chef's knife. This is a classic French chef's knife. You'll see a flat top, rounded blade. I'm not a big fan of the classic French knife. I have since switched to the Japanese style Santoko. It's you have a flatter blade on the bottom, and you have much more cutting board contact. So those two, whichever fits your hand best, are your two main, or will be one of your main knives. Now the second knife is a nice sharp slicing knife. It's probably going to be the sharpest knife in your bag, probably also the knife that gets the least amount of use. Your third knife is going to be a serrated knife, a bread knife, also great for cutting, peeling vegetables, fruits, stuff like that. There's 2 different kinds of serrated knives. This one is a reverse scallop. There's also a scallop blade where it's actually just the reverse of this blade. I tend to steer towards these. I like the way they handle better. A boning knife, which is going to be a thin, flexible bladed knife. This is going to be used to clean fish and meat. Silver skins off, fats off, laying nice flounder straight out, nice and easy. And then a paring knife. Now, that being said, here's what I'm going to tell you. Paring knife, I buy cheap paring knives and I throw them away when they're not sharp anymore. There's different kinds. You can buy serrated paring knives. You can buy Santoko style paring knives or your classic style paring knife. But I don't ever spend a lot of money. You'll find that this is the one knife that probably gets lost the most. For a boning knife, I go classic Wusthof classic knife. This knife here is probably about 15 years old, still in great shape. The blade, you have to make sure it does have some kind of bend to it, and it always pops right back to the original shape. The bread knife, this is a Wusthof Gourmet. Again, since they are so hard to sharpen, I tend to go more middle of the line as opposed to the high end, because when it does get really dull, you can just replace it easily and you don't feel bad about it. Now, here comes your money. With your slicing knife and your chef's knife, whichever one you choose, they're going to run you a pretty penny, because you're going to be spending most of your money on these 2 knives. These 2 knives here are probably going to be about $250 to $300.
Each or together?
Together. This Mizuno, yeah, it's just a plain Mizuno. It's all carbon steel blade. If you can see it, as opposed to this knife, the carbon steel tends to stain. If you're slicing any kind of onion or anything acidic, you'll see that stain right away. If by chance your wife puts it in the dishwasher by accident and you don't catch it in time, it'll be very hard to get those stains out, but it doesn't mean the knife's bad. Just scrub it up. I actually use soft scrub and a non-scratching scrubbing pad. I think it's Scotch Guard. And that should come out. If not, it's still a great knife. And then, now this Shun Premier has a carbon steel core with other metals wrapped over it. And then this, being that it's probably about 15 years old, I don't know exactly. Believe this is a Sabatier, and this is just a stainless steel knife. So, those are your 5 different knives. The other 2 things that I do want to tell you is everybody should have a steel. A steel is going to hone a knife. It is not going to sharpen a knife. This is a diamond steel. What you do with the steel is you just run your knife along the blade at about a 15 to 20 degree angle, back and forth, up and down, the length of the knife. Now you can do this with each of your knives. Every knife can do it. Then you come to your bread knife. Now with the bread knife, you actually have to go in and out of the grooves of the serrated to get the edge back on. Sharpening knives. Those knife sharpeners that you see that you drag along your edge of your blade, don't use them. All they're doing is peeling steel off, and you'll never get a nice sharp knife, and you'll never get an edge that will last. The other thing to save your knives is, number 1, never put them in the dishwasher. It doesn't take long to just wash your knives by hand. Just take a sponge, run it up, done. Especially with your carbon steel knives, make sure you dry them off right away. Storing your knives, I actually use a storage block, but not the kind that most people have. Most people have the slots in the wood. I don't really like that so much. This has a bunch of plastic cylinders coming up, and basically your knives just slide straight into it, and you can fit knives in any different direction, however you want to go. But that being said, my good knives, I always do knife guard and store in a drawer. That way you never have to worry about that knife getting banged up in here, sticking out too far and cutting yourself when you're pulling your other knives out, and what have you. So, I'm Michael Forster from He Cooks, She Wines. That's what I have to say about knives. Have a good one.